Hey there, welcome. I see we have some folks joining us. We are going to wait just that one extra minute before we get started. So thanks for being here. We'll let everyone get settled in and we'll get going really shortly. All right, welcome. So just so everyone's aware, we're going to wait one extra minute just because um, we live in a world of back-to-back meetings. So for those of you who need that extra minute to transition to this one, we will give everyone that extra minute. As you can see, we do have microphones disabled, but your camera is enabled. So if you wanted to have your camera on, you are more than welcome, but you don't have to. You do have a couple of ways of interacting with us today. So of course, use the reactions button. We'll see any reactions kind of pop up on our screen. And we do have a Q&A option. So rather than opting for a chat, we're going to use the Q&A. That way you can put in any questions that you have during, during our conversation, and we'll tackle those towards the end. We have some time planned for Q&A, and we welcome any and all questions that you have. But without further ado, I think we're going to get going. So again, welcome to our webinar. And this is one I'm super excited to talk about. I think as Zach and I planned this, we could
Way
go
too
on.
much fun
We could go on and on. But we want to give you two unique perspectives on what is holding your team back. So if you're here because things maybe aren't going as great as you wish they were from an IT support perspective, and you can't quite figure out or put your finger on what might be going wrong, or you think, hey, we've done everything we can, we're hopefully going to give you some insight into things that you might miss. So the first thing we'll do is tell you a little bit about ourselves. So Zach, with seniority, gets to go first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Brand. I'm the Senior Director of our delivery team at Virteva. So I've grown up at Virteva, actually starting on our service desk. So I've been in that chair before, and I have felt the pains, and I've also seen what good looks like. I've also helped grow and start our quality management team and grow that into the practice that it is today. Had the opportunity to run and lead the service desk directly for several years, and now I have the great opportunity and privilege to lead our entire delivery team at Virteva.
Yes, and I, like Zach, started here at Virteva about 10 years ago, give or take. And I too was on level one service desk, and I've worked with Zach actually for a really long time. We both started level one. I even remember Zach's like first day.
First day.
He
Yeah.
was so young, so
Shirt
innocent.
and tie.
Yep.
Yeah. Didn't know anything.
And like Zach, I moved on actually into another area. I moved into professional services. So I was more of the consultant type, and I built our service delivery assessment product, built that practice out. I lead our training practice. And frankly, I just jumped at the opportunity to run this webinar with Zach because he's someone that's equally as passionate about service management. And we want to tell you, of course, a little bit about Virteva as well, and what we do. So I'll let Zach, again, well, seniority first,
Sure,
talk
sure.
a little bit about our managed services practice.
Definitely. So Virteva has the opportunity to serve over 50 organizations with Service Desk, and a lot of our customers can be startups. They could be mid-market. They can be small enterprise folks that are looking for enterprise level, consistent, scalable service on the Service Desk front. We really love to partner with our customers and help them understand how to do continuous improvement, whether that be process,
Right.
technology. We're actually going to touch a little bit today on how to do that on the people side of things as
Yeah.
well. But holistically provide a world-class experience for your organization so that they can then in
Yeah.
turn serve your customer. And then we have a professional services team that deploys Microsoft technology, and a component of that is our ITSM assessment.
Right. And the service delivery assessment was really born out of that need for us. I want to say it started when we started kind of onboarding service desk customers. We just
Yeah.
started really getting good at figuring out how do we take an organization and sort of get them hitched to our wagon. And so we get to take all those service delivery experts, bring them in, and we get to work to identify the kind of the goals and the vision. We work with business stakeholders, your team. We conduct interviews. We do analysis. My favorite part, sit and work and observe with your service desk team to kind of gain a really thorough understanding of your current state and what you need to do to get to where you want to be. And so in the service delivery assessment product, we give you a nice chunky deliverable talking about all of the things we discovered, the data that we analyzed, and we give you recommendations and a roadmap so that you can improve and innovate and achieve your vision and goals. And I want to make sure that everyone understands, it isn't just a means to have, managed service desk. It's really like we have a good playbook and we wanted to take that out on the road. And I cannot tell you enough. It's one of my favorite things to do. In fact, I'm working on a couple of them right now, and it's so fun to go in and help people. And that's really what we want to do, and talk about a little bit about why you're here today. So, like I said, you want to learn about those things that really might be holding your team back, and that's what we aim to do. So we're going to talk about some common blind spots that people have. Not every one of these is going to apply to every situation, but these are just the most common things that we encounter, whether it's in that kind of service desk onboard space, if it's an ITSM assessment. And, we want to give you some real world examples. So we're going to be telling some customer stories today. And I want you all to know there's truly no names named. I don't want to be out here airing anyone's, dirty support laundry. And I mean, I am so lucky to work with all of our customers. I truly believe that. And, like I said, I feel like I'm the Marie Kondo of the IT service management. I love a mess. I just love a mess. I have nothing but respect for every group that we work with because, hey, we're all out there doing our best, trying to serve our customers so that our business can do what they need to do. And, I genuinely want to help because I can, I know how we've scaled and evolved back from our original iteration. The OG service desk to where we are today. So just know if you are thinking, yikes, that sounds like us. Just remember, you're not alone, and you're not alone. Everyone has things that they can do that they could do a little bit better. And I read this really great tweet about technical debt, and I think a lot of what we are going to talk about today really is just kind of like this is the technical debt. And it is smart people built what we have in a hurry. And I just really like that because, hey, we solved a problem this way, And now we have new problems that we have to
Right.
solve. So I really like that. And like I said, technical debt is what we spend a lot of time kind of sifting through. So the first blind spot is operationalized gut feelings. So if you tend to make decisions, if you tend to do root cause analysis, things like that, all through kind of like that assumption, gut instinct, gut feeling, it's really time to start partnering that with all of the data that you have. So like I said, I'm going to give you some real world examples. So I have two different customers that I was working with, two different service desks. Both were fully staffed. Both had great tools. So one, desk number one, they're using ServiceNow. Desk number two, they were using ShareWell. They had Cisco Call Manager. I mean, they have
Yep.
like best in class, enterprise tools. But something just wasn't working. They weren't getting the results that they wanted. So one desk, so desk number two, they were positive that they were not being served by their overflow service desk. They had a third-party service desk. They took overflow calls during business hours, like, right, everyone's on the phone, have to roll a call over. They did their nights, weekends, holidays, and they were just certain that this desk just wasn't getting the job done. They just said it's poor quality, our end users are frustrated. And I almost thought, hey, I was being brought in to evaluate this, which as someone who's worked third-party service desk, there's a lot of grace that you kind of have to bring into that situation. And in the second group, they were certain that their quality numbers, their customer satisfaction was at like an all-time low. And they did some qualitative interviews, and they were like, people call our help desk the helpless desk, and like I said, these groups were just like, why? What is going on? What's going wrong? So this is where I love, I do the interviews, and then we pair it with the numbers. So we kind of say, hey, let's take all the things that we know are happening and start asking why. Why is that? Why is it the way it is? So the first one, desk number one, who says our quality numbers are at an all-time low. Well, they were sending out regular customer surveys. They weren't reporting on them. They weren't aggregating the results. They just maybe got, bad feedback a couple of times from some really squeaky wheels, and that really paints what you think is happening. I pulled their numbers. There was a question that was like, was the person you worked with courteous and professional and knowledgeable, something like that? 100% of people said yes. So their quality numbers are actually really good. The place where we found the dings were happening was in communication and follow through. So people liked working with the service desk, but once a ticket kind of got into the system, it was really hard to figure out what's going on with it. When is it going to be done? Those sorts of things. So now we can, instead of being lost in the weeds on quality, we can focus on the thing that is really key. Now, the second group who said, hey, our third-party desk just is not serving us, they had reports going all over the place, but it really wasn't looking at the right stuff. So when we actually went and pulled reports, the way we would probably pull reports in our own world, we found that the overflow desk was taking more than 60% of calls during business hours. So 60% of inbound volumes were rolling over to this overflow service desk. At some point, that's not overflow anymore. It is, you're giving them way more than they're probably equipped or, frankly, even maybe contracted to handle.
Yeah.
So we were able to say, hey, it's maybe not the desk, it's that we're just giving them too much and the expectations aren't correct. So when you pull the numbers and you put it alongside those things, you just want to verify what you think is happening. So sometimes the numbers are going to be better. Sometimes they're going to be a little worse. So this is where I'll let, Zach tell you, we're not immune to having those moments.
Yeah, I think this was a good, learning moment for me coming through on the quality management side is, we had a customer that every Tuesday morning, we would review all of the tickets that we would take over the weekend.
Yep.
And I wasn't there at the beginning, but I ended up joining this call, and they were brutal. We would go through one by one every single ticket, and we'd get told the good, bad, and the ugly. And of course, most of it is, bad and ugly. And it's just a really long call, just
Yep.
doing that every single week. So at one point, I just said, enough. We're not going to go through one by one anymore. Mr. Miss Customer, we're going to do this on your behalf.
Yep.
Okay. You should not be going through ticket data.
Yeah.
We will do this for you.
Yep.
And I think there's, a few sides to that. As one, you want to build trust. So,
Absolutely.
I think by doing that, it's like, okay, I'm taking something off of their plate.
Right. Right.
And then if we are calling balls and strikes the same way that they're calling balls and strikes, now they're trusting the data. So,
Yep.
if we're saying something is good when it's not good, now we're not building trust because now
Right,
the data isn't
exactly.
accurate. So if we can come to an agreement on what balls and strikes look like, now we can use that to have the data tell the story. And we developed this like stoplight method of, green is good. We follow the process.
Yep.
We use the knowledge article. We resolve the incident, or we escalated to the
Mhm.
right team, had proper work notes and expectations set, et cetera, et cetera. This is a perfect ticket.
Right,
This is
right.
green. Red is, we had process for this. We had knowledge
Right.
for this. We didn't follow it. We sent it to the wrong group. We didn't resolve it when we could
Mhm.
have, et cetera. We would call that out.
Yeah.
And then yellow is, here's a collaborative opportunity to do process improvement, whether that's
Mhm.
around, process or, knowledge, technology, et cetera. And, we would keep stats on that. So, percentage green, percentage yellow, percentage red, over time. And of course, the first one is not good. You're not proud of that. It's not, a happy moment. But it's not that, the current state is poor. It's really how you respond to
Right.
that. And by being transparent, by
Absolutely.
by communicating what you're doing to resolve it, and then
Sure.
keeping track. Of course, those calls got better and better. They moved from weekly to bi-weekly to monthly. Actually, today they're still a customer. We do more services for them than we did before, and we don't have to have those calls anymore.
Right.
So
And that's,
yeah,
I think that's kind of one of those things where I really like, no, this is what a lot of people, like I said, people want to know that they're not alone,
right,
right? They want to
yeah,
know, like, we're not the only ones out there that there isn't a tough spot. And there are ways to get better. And the way that you start doing that is by pairing it with the data and
Mhm.
reporting it out. So, what we want to ask all of you is we're going to do a really quick poll on your data maturity. So, we want to hear from all of you a little bit about your data maturity. So in your service desk, are you pulling reports? Do you have real-time metrics? Do you have a lot of data, but not a lot of analysis? Or are you enlightened? You're at that data-driven
Mhm.
level. Go ahead and let us know what you're thinking, and I'll go ahead and see what we're looking at. All right, so we have it's a, so I think having people reports don't always get pulled. I,
Right.
I mean, a lot of us have phone systems, and that's probably the one thing, coming from our contact center, I'm like, give me those phone reports. But sometimes they can be hard to pull.
Mhm.
It can be difficult. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And it's okay. It's okay to admit sometimes, like, hey, we don't have a lot of data, or we have a lot of data, but we're not really looking at it. So if you want to know kind of a little bit how to get started, this is our advice to you.
Yeah. So I think getting started, you really want to take some baseline measurements, and don't let perfect be in the way of progress. So I think just starting somewhere is a great first step. But you can start by taking intake measurements. That can be used holistically. That can be used to understand. Hey, is your top performer taking on 3 times the effort as anyone else? Can you identify maybe
Yeah.
burnout risk and things of that nature. Things like time to respond, things like time to resolve.
Yeah.
Resolution rate is a big one. What is the service desk keeping off of L2's plate?
Yeah.
Customer satisfaction is uh, paramount. So I think those are really good kind of core
Yeah.
areas to at least start that progress.
Yep.
And then, I think once you have that data, you want to understand it. You're going to see the variances and what's an exception from normal. Then you
Right.
need to ask, why? And I think there's a technique in Lean Six Sigma methodology for asking the 5 whys. And the reason that they say 5 whys is typically you want to ask why something is the way that it is at least 5 times to
Yep,
get to root
yep.
cause. So, why are 60% of calls routing to overflow? It's because people are not logged in. Well, why aren't people logged in? And it's because they're working on their, own projects. And,
Right.
at some point you're going to come to, a root cause, and it may not be 5, it may be 4, it may be
Yeah.
10. But, the point is that you need to really start to dig in and be curious and ask these questions.
Don't stop at the first why.
Yeah, definitely. And then to really share that data. And I think there's maybe a few different audiences that this will be helpful for.
Yep.
Is your customer that you're serving. So, your internal employees, your business, your business leaders need to understand, where we're at, because I think, if you've got, a couple squeaky wheels saying, the service desk is awful, or helpless desk, or,
Right.
whatever, we've heard it all, right?
Yes.
But you can have the data tell the story. So,
Yes. I mean, honestly, I told that first group that I was working with, it's a public utilities company. I said, this number where 100% of people say that they enjoy working with the service desk
Right.
people, I'm like, make a flag and fly it. That is a great number to share. And set those goals. I think another thing that's really important is you need to know where you are and where you want to be.
Mhm.
We need to know what's a good number, what's an acceptable number, what's a really bad number.
Mhm.
So like we're rolling 60 calls, 60% of calls to the service desk or the overflow desk. What's a good amount
Mhm.
during the day? What's an acceptable amount and what is really, really bad?
Yeah.
And you can do this with any, use the built-in reporting tools you have, make that Excel pivot table, use Power BI desktop. You might not have a license for the full like Power Platform, but I tell you, if you have Microsoft 365, you can use Power BI desktop,
Mhm.
make a report, turn it into a PDF and share it with people. So that's something that's really good. And I think something that we both agree on is really that transparency perspective is not being afraid to share.
Absolutely. I think if you can be transparent, you're building trust. You're sharing the data, and then also doing the analysis and
Mhm.
educating people what you're doing to make it better. It can really set you free.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you have both real-time metrics and look-back metrics. So sometimes I see people that have the dashboards but don't pull the, month over month, year over year type reports,
Yep.
or vice versa, right? We know what we did, but we don't know what's happening in the moment. So make sure you kind of have both. The next blind spot that we want to talk about, another one that I am this is one that I know I see a lot in the service delivery assessment world.
Yeah.
It's something that when we first sit down and we do the interviews and we kind of hear like, what do we think is happening and going wrong? And it is the bad apple theory. And this is where we can get to the first of a couple books that we're going to talk about. This is one that if you are in service desk leadership, right, or IT leadership, or really just leadership in general, this book, The Field Guide to Understanding Human Error by Sidney Dekker. This book is one of my all-time greats. I think after I read it, I was on a different plane of existence, right? It really taught me to look deeper past a person making a mistake
Right.
and into the systems, the processes, the tools, the documentation that make mistakes possible. So the old way, Sidney Dekker says, kind of the old way of thinking about human error is that our systems, ServiceNow, Sharewell, our phone system, all the documentation, the knowledge articles, things like that, our procedures, our processes would be totally fine if it weren't for the behavior of just a bunch of unreliable people that are using them, right? And this is where I think coming back to the 5 whys, we always say, you know, if it's like, well, we would have done fine if Zach just didn't read carefully
Needs to
enough,
do better.
right?
Yeah.
So I look at that. I'm like, I'm going to go past the person. Look, what in our tooling makes it possible for things to go wrong? What in our documentation? Another little bonus read, if you're into design thinking and stuff like that, The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. Also great book. If you look up what a Norman door is, and you will start to recognize in the world that there's things that allow mistakes to happen everywhere. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big idea here. And this is where I think we've included this. We have integrated this way of thinking into our quality management process and the way that we write knowledge.
Yeah. Part of our services is really knowledge management as a service, if you think about it that way. I think a lot of organizations are overwhelmed by the daunting task of knowledge management. And, believe me, it's a big beast to wrap your arms around, but luckily you created some processes, around maintaining that in a more efficient manner. But I think what at least when I was coming in, something that I struggled with, and then something in the quality management world I saw people struggling with was, all of the knowledge articles would be probably written by a subject matter expert, an architect, an engineer that, may have 10, 15, 20 plus years experience either at that firm or with the technology. So, when they're writing things like, say, for a password reset on, on-prem Active Directory, there's maybe a 10-step process to do that from start to finish. And they would write it starting at step 7. Right? So like there's some assumptions made, like, hey, you need to hit this server, you need to go here, you need to do that, you need to do this to get to step 7. And and you see that throughout the entire knowledge base. So there's almost like this tribal knowledge that you need to have in order to use knowledge in an efficient manner and be efficient with your call, deliver a great experience. And what we've tried to do is think of the service desk analyst as our customer from the knowledge management perspective, and to think of if it were someone's first phone call, could they be successful with it? Because you're going to train somebody up, you're going to train them on all the different things, and the first call is going to be something that happens once a month or something like that. And it's going to be this unique situation that's not what you trained them for. And it totally happened to me too. The first call was this obscure thing, and it's like, I don't know. I can't find anything.
And honestly, that's kind of one of the things I love about the quality management process on our managed service desk. We can listen to a phone call, so we can hear what's being said, but we can also see what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
And like one of the things I have those calls. I remember there was software, the way that a phonetic spelling of a piece of software. If all of those things, like I'm like frantically searching the knowledge base, and like the way I think it's spelled and the way it's actually spelled, the software that I'm talking about
people have nicknames.
Was called Eyesight. And I'm like, okay, there's like 4 phonetic ways of like kind of spelling that. So that's kind of what I love about doing the observation. And this is what I see a lot is, again, the bad apple theory is just like, if I just make it, I just say, don't do anything, read this first, and I highlight it and whatever. Like we can see as we're watching people do the, screen recording and stuff, we can see the way that they process that call, the way that they read the knowledge base article, where we've put this bold red text is not where they want to be in the article.
Right.
Or it's
They're using Control F to go find something specifically.
So instead of saying, why can't someone just read? We need to put down the Control B red text and really look at that process end to end. So, when I sit with service desks, and I love doing it because that's where the cool kids work. I truly believe it. I stopped being cool like the moment now I'm just one of those people.
Just
Just one of those people that doesn't have a badge. But I get to watch people really try and get stuck. And that's really what I see. I don't see like someone who just can't get it right. I see someone trying to do the thing and getting stuck. So you really need to look at those processes, look at what people are doing. Is that incident intake process really clunky? Do people have to fill out a bunch of form fields that trip them up? Do you need a Google Maps and like a seer stone to get through your knowledge base, right? Or whether it's a OneNote notebook or something like that, right? Do they need a lot of help in order to get there? And that's really where I highly, highly encourage people, look past, ask those 5 whys. Don't assume everyone is trying to like sabotage you, right?
Right. And from the leadership perspective, managing a large team of service desk analysts, maybe as a little bit of a caveat, sometimes there may be a bad apple. But
don't make me tap the sign again, Zach. No bad apples.
We need to go through, I think, a few steps before we can arrive at that. So that's not I think, like back to our gut feels.
Right.
We can't just have a gut feel about our bad apples. We need to, suss that out a little bit.
Sure, fine. As long as it's data driven.
Yes, exactly. So
I'll let you say that.
I've always, subscribed and liked this, head, hands, heart.
Sure.
Process methodology. And first step is do they know what the expectation is? And I think that's what we were kind of finding out in, some organizations that you've been in is, 60% rollover. Why is there was no expectation to log into the phones. There was no expectation on, hey, roughly how many calls that we get is, divided by number of analysts, is maybe a good threshold to put for, level of expectation. Or if you have, team leads or whatever, what are those expectations? And you need to set the bar so that they know what success looks like. And it has to be clear. And then one thing that, I'm a former soccer coach too. So if I'm, coaching 11-year-olds or if I'm coaching service desk analysts, it's kind of been the same thing too, where, if I'm saying the expectation, I'm going to say, okay, Holly, and I'm going to have you tell me that expectation back to me.
Right, exactly.
So that there's some sort of confirmation
Sure.
that the expectation is there.
It's good. And saying it is not enough, right? Like have the dashboard.
Yeah.
Make it clear, transparent, public.
Yeah.
Because it is a team sport, service desk is a team sport.
Absolutely.
I think that this is probably, I would say in the head space.
Yep.
This is a big area that I run into when I'm doing IT service delivery assessments is that expectation setting.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't know what expectations we need to be setting, and that's okay. We can help with that. But this is where I feel like this is a huge disconnect. So that's a good place to start.
And then, if you've landed the expectation, do they have the tools to be successful? Mm-hmm. Do they have, the reports to look at? I like to kind of mention to our team, are we showing our team like the baseball statisticians, 1-point font, Excel spreadsheet, or are we showing them the back of the baseball card? Like,
right.
Do they get like the 5 metrics that are most important? And then are we giving them tools to improve those? So it's not just, hey, run faster. They're trying to run as fast as they can, but you need to, show them a different technique, different tools, different way of doing or thinking so that they can actually be successful. You need to give them the tools.
Sure.
So, and then lastly is heart. So do they believe in it? Are they bought in?
Yes.
And you can kind of see where this is going is we're removing all the obstacles. Maybe a pessimist might call it. You're removing all the excuses.
Sure.
Excuses are gone. But you're getting to the heart of the matter. Really, is do they believe in it? Do they need some additional coaching, or are they just choosing not to?
Right.
And
right.
That's a very different story. Than before. But we're not making any assumptions.
Right.
That hey, these guys are just choosing not to do the right.
Do you think that there are a lot of times that getting people connected to, I think as leaders, we get really connected to believing, right? We believe it, we know.
Right.
But I think as leaders, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that our folks on level one service desk feel connected to the mission of the business, that
Yeah.
they feel like they're playing a role.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
So,
And one more thing,
oh,
if I can.
go ahead.
Having the pleasure of leading a large
Yes.
team for a long time and having to go through this process, many times, there hasn't been a lot of situations where we've gotten to the end and someone's choosing not to.
Sure.
Certainly it happens, but like on a percentage, it's really small. So hopefully this helps for, folks that are struggling with
Yeah.
this.
I mean, this is big. I mean, if the expectations are clear, but the tools make it really impossible, like clear the obstacles, eliminate those excuses. I think that's a really, really good point. Okay. Next one. All right. So this is probably the one where all of you are going to be like, no, it cannot be. I think this is usually a controversial, thing for me to talk about, but this is in service management assessments. This is like a hill I will die on
Right.
every single time. And that is that email, yes, email is hurting your service management. It's really hurting it. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but this is something that the more I do service delivery assessments, we look at your ITSM platform, we look at all those things. There is one vampire of efficiency in your world, and it is email. And here's what I hear. So when I say, hey, email's really hurting your service management, would you consider, or, do you have, what are your self-service options? And this is what I hear from people. Our end users don't want to use self-service. We want to white glove everything. They want high touch. I've heard it all. And I think early on I would have like some decorum and I would be like, oh, okay. And I would hear you out. Now I'm like, and here's why. Okay. So I'm going to show you a real report from a group that did not have self-service in place. Okay. So a lot of call volume, but about 40% of what they're doing is email volume. Okay. So this is not a call. This is someone just sending you a message in a bottle. Okay, could be, hey, where's my ticket at? Hey, I need help, whatever it is. But 40% of what they're doing is email. And email is just the worst. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But this is where I want to dispel the myth that self-service is not good. And that is really that we all use self-service now. And this has been accelerated and heightened by the pandemic, but we all use self-service on a regular basis. And I don't think we feel not served, and it can take many forms. Right. So really do not think of self-service as you telling your end users, like, do it yourself. We don't want to help you. We don't want to talk to you. It means, let's make this fast and easy for you, right, so you can do your stuff and get on with your day. And, I guess I would say, what do you, so if you go to Target, okay, so you're at Target, you're about to check out. What do you do? Cashier or self-checkout?
Oh, self-checkout, 100%.
Right.
100% of the time.
Now, I do none of the above. I do the drive up service, and that's a way of life I can't go back from. But I know you have toddlers, so when you get to
Target is a vacation.
You get to get away from them.
Target is a vacation.
It's a good thing. I have teenagers, so I need to keep them out of Target. Okay? I need to keep them away from things that they want. So I look at that as, I don't look at it as like, I don't work for Target. I don't want to have to do all of this myself, all that stuff. I really look at that as like, they're helping me. They're helping me do this fast, easy. It kind of probably instills some more loyalty in my bones for that. So really think about, if we can make it fast and easy for our end users, like they will use it. And I just want to continue to iterate that email, it maybe feels fast and easy, and everyone already has email, right? They can use it, they can email the help
To
desk.
start.
But every time you look at a pile of email, so if you're doing service delivery management, it's like a pile of mystery meat. It's just an email could be it could be anything. It could be someone checking on a ticket status. It could be someone needing help. And like, I think we've all probably seen the urgent all caps, like, urgent help me, it could be someone wants new software, or a hiring manager saying like, we're hiring 5 new interns next week, we need accounts and all this stuff. It's email could be anything, and it's a really bad dialogue. So we have to go and spend all of our precious time, strategic time, tracking down all that information.
Right.
So like I said, a lot of people think of email as this like, we have to offer email. I'm telling you, it takes so much time
back and forth
to get what you need to start work. And I want you to consider the best forms of support interactions are dialogues, okay? So like conversational. So a call, great dialogue. You're saying who you are, what you need, I'm asking you the questions, and we can get right to work. Chat, another, of course, kind of conversational or dialogue. And then self-service, hear me out, still a dialogue. So they're filling out a form, and each variable is like a question we're asking them.
Yep.
We need the information. They give us all the information. Boom, we get right to work. So email just does not scale that way. If you think like, what? We have so much that we need to be doing, and we can't get any of it done. I guarantee you a lot of that time is lost to email. And that fun, fact from our first groups, right? Why aren't people logged into the phones? Why aren't this? Why do email coming out of their noses and ears, right? So if we can get people freed up, we can kind of start to accomplish some of those things. So, and I know that on our side, I don't think we don't even offer email.
No,
When
last
people
couple.
do a service, if you're a service desk customer, you don't get a help desk email. And how do people feel about that?
Well, the first time I was a little anxious about the recommendation,
right.
because we had seen this ourselves as 8 back and forths just to get basically the who, what, why, when, how. It was just super inefficient. That can take literally hours to do that.
Yes.
So like, we knew that it was a bad mechanism, but we kind of threw it out there as more of like, would you be interested in this? And the response was a resounding yes.
Yeah.
People
get it. They know. Email.
And every single team since then is like, oh yes, please get this away from us. So
email is
it's a big deal.
Really, really bad. And honestly, I would say, it sounds really scary, but I'm telling you, the cost of keeping it is it's too high.
Yeah.
You need to get people there. So
and these are startups, and these are, multi-thousand user organizations.
Exactly.
This isn't like, my business is different or anything like that. Literally on both sides of the scale.
Everyone thinks like,
so
it's possible. It's possible. So I want to hear from all of you, of course, a little bit about where email is for all of you. So what are you doing for your support inbox? So are you still using a lot of email? Do you have plans to maybe phase that out, kind of work with self-service? Or have you already taken your help desk email account to the forest?
Yeah.
Set it free. Bye, little buddy. All right. So a lot of people still using email. Some folks have plans. Okay. So don't have anyone, maybe aside from the managed service desk, who's, phased that out. But trust me, it is possible. And like I said, the cost of not phasing it out is too high. And trust me, almost every recommendation I've written, so series of recommendations roadmap
Mhm.
really aims to eliminate or take a huge bite out of that time wasted processing, email. And I mean wasted because honestly, it's about being able to, have the right people working on the right stuff at the right time. Email, email gets in the way of that. So um, a lot of people, once you get self-service stood up, think, okay, we've done it, but this might be something that, we've definitely taken a little further.
Yeah, it's definitely a, journey to get there. And, I think our journey really started with enabling self-service on our ServiceNow platform allows for actually a mobile app
Mhm.
to be end user facing so that end users can, because we have some customers that are, manufacturing, plant, warehousing, distribution center,
A
and
lot of first line.
to walk 15 minutes across the floor to log into a kiosk to open a ticket
Yep.
is going to be obtrusive and not
Sometimes
convenient.
not even an option.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes not even an option.
So, we've enabled that to, they can take their phone out of their pocket and they can open up a ticket.
Yep.
They can get status on their current one, which, we see quite frequently as a lot of ticket volume can sometimes just be updates on stuff that they're already doing. So percentages of your volume is literally just follow-ups on tickets that have already been opened. So if you're enabling your
Exactly.
users to see those tickets, interact with a technician that's already assigned to that, you're, freeing up your service desk to work on
Right.
things. So, and then it's really an educational exercise on helping them understand what a better way is.
Yep.
So it's not, the message isn't email is off, right? That's not going to be a
No.
great response from your from your user base,
Don't email us. Try
but
not.
helping them to understand, what the better way is, and then showing them, really what easy looks like, and
Yeah.
get some people that are probably high vocal, folks. You probably know them in your organization, folks that are going to be vocal about anything. You might want to white
Yep.
glove them. You might want to help them walk through the process first because that they're might tell their teams. And I think every organization's got probably a strategy that you can kind of roll that out.
Yes. We love a
you know,
squeaky wheel.
strategic
We love a
method.
squeaky wheel.
Yeah, you just embrace them.
Yeah.
You just embrace them. That's the strategy.
Yep. A lot of people think, wall them off. I'm like, no, bring them in. Bring them in early and often.
Yeah.
Because they can sometimes make or break the sale of that. And really something to consider, I think, is that adoption and change is truly kind of a marathon. It's not just a, if you stand up self-service, it's done, you did it. There's a book by Bob Sutton and Huggy Rao called Scaling Up Excellence. Again, we're going to have links to all these books we talk about, but Scaling Up Excellence says that scaling and change, you have to think of it as a ground war, not an air war. You can't just, we have self-service. You have to get out there. You've got to have boots on the ground. It takes time. It takes persistence. You might want to think of it as moving 1,000 people forward 1 foot at a time. And if you move away from the time vampire of email, you've freed up some strategic time that can be put towards that adoption effort. And nothing new just is super catchy right away, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of you here have been, use Microsoft 365. We see this a lot, especially in the Teams world. Sure, we kind of know a little bit about that, but once we get into some of the collaboration stuff and the remote clouds, it's a whole new way of working.
Right.
It takes time. People don't get it right away. So be persistent and you'll be successful. And I know we're going to be getting towards the end, but this is kind of our last blind spot. This is something I know is sort of it's near and dear because I think we've both experienced what it can mean to have pathways to grow. And that is not having ways for your team to grow as professionals, grow in their responsibilities. And, I think, like I said, I do not manage people. I only can kind of go in and out and sort of compare and contrast sort of culturally where organization, like if they're a promote from within organization or not.
Yep.
But you manage people and you have to this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think growth is a great motivator I mean, at least I think it was for us, and I think for
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
people in our organization is, learning new things, new technologies, being able to be exposed to, different challenges is I think healthy. And for a lot of our customers, we've seen a lot of great success, or they've seen success by bringing us in, and as a strategy elevating those top people that are kind of been resigned to password reset and Office
Mm-hmm.
365 troubleshooting, and push them up into the organization so that they can be more strategic. They can help be more connected with the business, be more connected with the organization's customers,
Yep.
and drive more growth and innovation. um, we've been, we've heard a lot of stories, especially over, the pandemic, where, companies really had to rethink what they wanted to be really good at. And I think that plays into a little bit of, what Roger Martin thinks about. And this is going to be another book that he wrote about, called Playing to Win. And I'm not going to go through the whole model or the whole theory, but we're really kind of trying to look at where do you want to play and how do you want to win, as two foundational elements to think about for your IT strategy. Is do you want to be in the business of password resets, troubleshooting, break fix,
Mm-hmm.
more reactive elements,
Yes.
or are your best people that maybe are higher paid or have really a great connection with the business? Can we elevate them to replace legacy apps with modern apps?
Right.
Are there new ways that technology can enable the business to be more successful and innovative? That's where I think
Right.
there's more value. And then I think Virteva fits a little bit in that conversation as well, or I guess another partner.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we fit really well into that equation,
Right.
because we've made a lot of this repeatable, and this is our business, so we are constantly thinking about this. And we have basically resources and people that are really passionate about this,
Yes.
that have more time and energy to put into this. So we can basically, as a service, we can be service desk, we can be Office 365, we can kind of fulfill some of those
Right.
elements to push your IT team that's really talented and probably wants to be in those positions, forward a little more. So
And that's really kind of a big idea that happens a lot. I think from not only from a managed service perspective, um, sometimes even when I come in and do a service delivery assessment, again, no plans to engage with managed services, but people sometimes will see me as a harbinger of oh my gosh, she's here to evaluate us. And we hear that a lot, I think, from especially managed service desk, right?
Yeah.
We hear that a lot.
It's a big concern.
What does that mean for our current team?
Mm-hmm.
And trust us when we say that is not, we're not, there's no way, shape, or form where we're sort of gunning for that. It's basically like the, it's that winning strategy, right? It's plugging in that kind of table stake stuff, password resets, Microsoft 365 support, and allowing the people that are the most knowledgeable about your internal customers, your external customers, the tools and systems that you use to just be that much more in the organization. I've seen it a lot, and that's where we see burnout risk, frankly. I have definitely watched in some of my observation stuff, the rock stars, right? They know everything. They can do everything. But it's they're literally doing everything from password resets to, helping someone be like, how do I change my email signature? Like, don't, that is a tough spot to be in. I've definitely seen people exit organizations, things like that. And it's tough to lose people like that. So,
Especially if something's not documented or written down, and
Yes.
all their knowledge walks out the door with them.
And
That's-
and this is where, um, a wise man once told me, uh, that knowledge will set you free, that basically if you want to do more, you kind of have to document what you do
Yeah,
so that other people can do
Yeah.
those things,
work
right?
yourself out of a job.
Exactly.
basically.
It's a scaling thing. Ideally, this is not a document or a notepad file, right? It's in a database, it's in your knowledge base. But if you have all this knowledge in your head, whether you're a supervisor or you're just a lead or a rock star, right? It really truly means you can't grow. You are not free. You are stuck, and you're going to burn out. So we really want people to take that. That's like, I would say, one of the first layers of responsibility that you can add to someone's plate is that knowledge management responsibility. So challenge your rock stars, right? Knowledge will set you free. If you want to keep going, you've got to make it so that everyone can do what you're doing. So that's kind of a big piece that we see. And this is where, there's definitely fears. And like I said, I don't really manage people, but I've definitely seen these play out. That people will worry, what if I give someone an extra piece of responsibility, they don't do it right? What if they don't do it as well as I do it? And this is where you kind of have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
And people will learn. People will learn. Mistakes, happen. They are the playground of development, right? And sometimes innovation even comes with new perspective.
Yep.
We can all think that we carved the best process in stone and broke the mold, right? Someone new might come in and be like, what if we did it this way?
Absolutely.
And then you regret all the time you wasted doing it your way. Been there, but and having redundancy is really a good thing. So if you give people um, uh, different, unique, like flexible ways to grow and be successful, it means you can keep those people, that they're engaged and they stay with you longer. So I know we're coming towards the end. So we're gonna do a little recap and we will answer your questions. But what I want to do is just really quickly have you share a thought or two. If your support team had more time, right? We could free up some strategic time. What could they accomplish, right? So whether it's we just dug into the data and we looked at what they were doing. What do we think that people could get done? And again, I'll let you all ruminate on that. You don't have to get that all done right now, but just think about that because it's one of those things where, time is truly the goal. We all wish we had more time. So just kind of think about that. So again, if you want to get started, so you want to take action, remember, you have to start measuring, get that baseline, get those numbers, be transparent. You want to look past human error and examine your processes and your tools. You want to truly embrace self-service the way that we have, and make sure that you're pushing your team up in your organization. And if you want help with any of those things, you want to learn more, of course, you can reach out to us at letstalk@virteva.com. These books here, you can absolutely click on any of those links to learn a little bit more about those books. And we will take a look at the Q&A and see if there is anything in our Q&A. We'd love if you had some questions for us. We're not seeing very many, but we'll kind of stick around here. So if you have a couple minutes, feel free.
Okay, so someone asked a question on basically knowledge management, on where to start. I think our philosophy on knowledge management is to have, at the end of the day, you want theoretically a knowledge article for every, app or issue that can be called
Right.
in. Now there's, you know, I think some organizations have kind of told us in the past, like, oh, well, we're not ready for Virtiva yet because we need to, we don't have any documentation. It's like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. We know like the 20 or 25 things, obviously you're gonna need Office
Absolutely.
365. Your primary apps that are in there. You can use the data that's in your, your tool, Surewell, ServiceNow, et cetera. Use that data to help educate you on what to put in there. Start with what's going to get you knowledge for 25, 50% of your cases.
Right, and
then just
honestly,
continue to go from
you
there.
will see when you pull your cases, you'll see like, people call
Yeah.
about the same things over and over again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's a
Password
great,
reset, Office
start
365,
there,
Outlook,
start with volume.
core line of business applications,
Right.
et cetera.
Absolutely. And find a template and find a format that's going to work.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck with like blank canvas syndrome. You really want to make sure that you have a kind of a way that you write knowledge. And we have a way, we have a template that we use that
Yep.
I like to think of it as it's built for speed. It's really built for someone who's on the phone with someone who can really
Yeah.
quickly get to that answer. So
Yep.
be consistent about that. And honestly, if you have like a subject matter expert writing a knowledge base article, it's much easier to hand them a template than to say like,
Right.
tell me everything you know about this server. It's like, you don't want that.
Yeah.
That's how you get consistency. It's like fill in the blanks, and it means they'll do it.
Great.
All right.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you
Great.
so much. Really appreciate everyone being here. If you do have any other questions, like I said, reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. Definitely saw some familiar names and faces on the call today. So again, want to just also say hello again, and hope we get to chat soon. And just watch for any other opportunities to join us again for a webinar. Hopefully we can have some more fun conversations in the future.
It'd be fun.
And we'll make sure that a recording of this goes out. So if you want to share it in your organization, you'll have a way to do that. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thanks.